Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first FireLogic and RingCentral Lunch and Learn. I want to thank y'all for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what RingCentral's got to offer for VoIP. Me and all of our team have really great lunch. To introduce our team, I want to start at the top with our president and founder, Derek. Derek, do you want to say a couple words?
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone coming out here today. I see some familiar faces, see some new faces. Really great to be able to host an event like this and have all of you join us. Hopefully all the food's very good, and hopefully everyone learned something as well today. We've got a great team over here to help relay the topic and shed some light on RingCentral, what success we've had with it, and how it can help your organization. So,
thanks, Derek. So, introducing the rest of our team, before we get to the heart of the presentation, I want to briefly mention who FireLogic is, what we can do for your businesses, and the successes we've had with RingCentral. In the back, we've got our operations manager, we've got our operations manager, Diane. We've got our help desk technician, Phil. And most of you know our operations manager, Jacob.
Hello.
So the slide, our next slide is talking about, also me, the operation, I'm the IT sales account. Not that I haven't done this in recent times, I apologize. I'm going to trip a little bit here and there. So I'm Mike Schultz, I'm the IT operations sales account manager. So what I'll be doing is communicating with the majority of the customers on a face-to-face basis, working with procuring products, getting licenses extended, and making sure all your IT needs are met. I was previously in the telecom industry. Jacob and I have known each other for a long time, and then Derek brought me into the team to bring us into a new time of working with having a salesperson. IT has been a real fun experience for me coming into. We are a team that is a fractional IT department. We are a team that is going to take all of your IT needs, all of your IT support. We're going to cut down any ballooning costs due to fluctuations in your IT needs. We are a we represent a proactive approach to IT support that reduces firefighting. We're on top of your problems before those problems get out of control. We have advanced software systems, keeping an eye on your key infrastructure. We're always aware of any issues that may arise inside your business. We've got 7 people addressing all of your needs for less than the cost of one in-house IT technician. Hence the term fractional. A fraction of the cost of what one person would cost your organization. Plus, you've got no overtime. You've got no insurance costs. You've got an overall reduction in that type of labor cost. When we look around the room, a representation of our customer base, the different verticals that we represent. We've got a dentist. We work with a nonprofit, many local church organizations. There's a big variety of institutions that we work with, financial institutions, dozens from across Milwaukee all the way down to Indiana. Our homes here in Des Plaines. So right now we're looking at expansion in the next few months to Chicago. With the logic being there, we're going to have a bigger team and being able to further reach everyone's IT needs. Now, transitioning into FireLogic and RingCentral. Our very first VoIP client, who had a lot of choices of VoIP providers, chose RingCentral. They're still with them today, and that was years ago. 25 plus firms that we've converted to VoIP, 450 overall users within those organizations, 12 plus different types of organizations that we've done business with VoIP, and 400 users we currently support on a day-to-day basis. And the big number on that page, 0 number of clients that have reverted back to plain old telephone service. So this success rate is astronomical, and one of the reasons why we wanted to partner with the industry leader with this Lunch and Learn was because this success rate. Next one, please. So with that being said, I want to transition over to Jim. Jim with Steve first. I'll go with RingCentral.
Yep.
All right,
Very
Steve.
good. So my name's Steve Katz. I'm with RingCentral. I've been with Ring for a whopping 5 months, but got 20 plus years experience in what we'll call telephony, unified communications, UCaaS. Used to kind of cut my teeth with a small company out in the Skokie way called US Robotics. If you guys are familiar with them, that's a name from the past. They did a lot of things, everyone knew them for modems, but they were actually acquired by a company called 3Com that had one of the first what we call IP-based PBXs, or phone systems. So I got to watch the transition from what we call TDM or plain old telephones lines over to what we call now IP-based phone systems, to now what the big trend is the move to what we call UCaaS, which is Unified Communications as a Service, or it all moving to the cloud, where all you would have really on your desktop, or in terms of hardware at your location, is a phone. And that's even optional. So we have many customers now moving to a model where they're getting corporate phone service from RingCentral, but the device they talk to may be a smartphone, or it may be just a soft phone on their PC. I have a work number that rings this, it rings my PC, and it also rings a Polycom phone I happen to be using as a paperweight in my home office, because I'm never there.
I do the same.
Yeah. So, works great, it's just I'm never there, I'm out and about. If I'm doing my job, this is my device, but it's my work number that's ringing here, not my cell number. So I maintain that kind of, maybe it's appropriate because I know we have some churches here, my separation of church and state, so to speak. You know, all my work calls are coming in here. When I call you back, you see my work number. You don't have to know my personal cell phone number. I can choose to answer that call or not at times I want to be working. So what I'm going to focus on today is just why this movement from traditional phone systems where you had a box in the closet and that you had to maintain and manage, to this movement to the cloud. I'll just talk about it generally, what's happened in the space. The second part, we'll just let Jim talk about, if you're going to make this move, why it should be RingCentral. But go to the, if you can, I'm sorry, I don't know which buttons to push there. So, you know, we talked about, you know, some of the transitions in terms of how people communicate. I think there's a little misinformation out there that if you're going to move to the cloud, the reason why people are doing it is purely a financial reason, that they don't have to manage, maintain. They're moving from what we call a CapEx to more of an OpEx model, where you're just kind of renting the service monthly, as opposed to making a big lump purchase of hardware and equipment. It's really more the functionality and some of the other features that are being added. Now, Jim's going to talk about specifically what they are for RingCentral, but in general, even our competitors are bringing a whole lot more capability and features that you wouldn't be able to put in a box sitting in your closet, so to speak. It becomes even more of a night and day type comparison when you're looking at a small business. For a small business to have things like video conferencing, full collaboration, desktop sharing, you know, the mobility, all that, or things like contact center. I don't know if there's anybody who has any requirements for a call center or contact center. To do that in a premise environment, if you're a small 20, 25 person shop, would be just terribly cost prohibitive. Whereas when we move it to the cloud, you just sign up for those services as you need it for the people that you need, and you pay as you go, so to speak. But this is where, if we can get in front of you and demo the product, it says a whole lot more than if we just throw you, here's what it costs per month. I think it's going to open a lot of eyes, especially if we can get to that step where Jim later on maybe comes out, does a full demo for you. I think some light bulbs will go off. You know, you'll see, oh, I never thought I could do that type of thing. So let's put it that way.
Go ahead to the next slide. You know, what's been happening with the legacy phone systems, why we're seeing them phase out, lose market share, and the big movement to cloud goes far beyond just that upfront cost, and that hence the iceberg there. But you know, the ability to have the redundancy, the ongoing maintenance of the hardware, these type of factors all come in. A lot of what we call soft costs. You know, you have to manage and maintain that system, whereas when it's in the cloud, we're doing all that. We do all the upgrades. You choose to, you know, decide when that upgrade that we push to the system actually rolls out to you as a client. And then some of the other areas like integration. So I don't know if anyone here is using any kind of like CRM software or packaging. When you start to see, when you want to see real benefits from that CRM package, when you can tie it in with your phone system. In other words, when we're a Salesforce shop at RingCentral. If I initiate the call through the Salesforce integration, it's logged in. I don't have to go in there and do all that data entry. Same thing, if one of you were to call me, it recognizes the number. It's going to pop that Salesforce contact information. It's going to log the call. It allows, so you know, there's costs associated with RingCentral. I don't know if any of you looked at Salesforce. The cost for Salesforce is astronomical compared to us, but if I can provide you a tool, meaning RingCentral, that's going to get a higher adoption rate of your users leveraging that Salesforce, then we become a no-brainer. So Salesforce is one. In the contact center space, we're starting to see a lot more integration with social media. So I'm a little older. I have 5 kids. I've learned that if I want to communicate with them, I can't even, that this has nothing to do with voice, is what I've learned. That you don't talk on this. This is just for texting so they can come down to dinner and things like that. Or, you know, even better if I could, and I'm probably aging myself by saying Snapchat, because they probably moved on. Because once we figure out what it is, it's no good anymore. But our contact center software is starting to integrate all these aspects so that, you know, the customer comes down and says, you know, FireLogic is awesome on Twitter, could trigger something for Derek to call back. Or, you know, what's going on with FireLogic, I haven't heard, you know, it would trigger. And all those profiles that users have, a Twitter, a Facebook, a Snapchat, Instagram, all that is kept in a repository so that no matter how they're reaching you, you know, we're able to respond quickly. So these are the type of integrations that you're starting to see, especially in the contact center space, which is pretty exciting. Go ahead. I don't know if I have more. So obviously I mentioned this. We're built to be very flexible. You know, you buy what you need when you need it. So you know, for organizations that are very dynamic, you know, seasonal, have changes, adding users, subtracting is great. If you're a company that's new with high growth, start out with what you need today and just add as you grow, versus in the legacy world, you had to buy the big box that could, you know, have 20 line cards in it, but you were only using 2, but you had to buy that box up front. That's not going to be the case with us. Also, you know, another analogy I'll hear with the legacy phone systems is it's like buying a car. The minute you drive it off the lot, it starts to depreciate. Whereas we will constantly be upgrading. We're almost like a lease. You know, you'll pay monthly, but you'll always have the latest and greatest. Keep going. I think it just builds out. Yeah. So, and you don't have to worry about any of that. Although, if you did, I'm sure Derek knows perfect way to organize all that for you.
Clean it up.
Yep. Exactly. So the public cloud, you know, there have been concerns about security. It is very secure now. You know, we're HIPAA compliant. I know that for you that's a big deal. That whether this is Dr. Aggie, right, from Hart Dental. So, you know, whether you like it or not, HIPAA became a part of your life a few years ago, right? So, you know, obviously going through the cloud, you know, we had to address these. We've kind of benefited that it's not just our service that's moved to the cloud. Everybody's being pushed to the cloud. And so, you know, I can't say that we fixed the cloud, but, you know, we're definitely part of that movement. And
and it is very secure and very very safe. Go ahead. So I mentioned it's a complete solution. This I think would play out more in a demo than what limited time we have here today. But you know, when you're looking at us messaging in terms of from a business perspective, you know, I can SMS from my work phone. I can fax. For those of you who still do fax, receive fax, video conference, desktop collaboration, share my desktop. All this from our solution. So it's the one app to rule them all is how we refer to ourselves, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. But versus having all these. So we've had people, and Jim probably can speak to this more, that they come to us looking for a phone system replacement, and then Jim does a little discovery, finds out, you know, they're spending X amount of dollars a month on GoToMeeting or WebEx, and when he tells them it's included, or they're doing something with Zoom, it's included. It's all in our solution.
Skype.
Yep. Yep. So Zoom is actually the engine powering our video conferencing. So we have some best of breed that we've rolled into our own solution. But the toggling back and forth. Siri wants to know what I have to say. The toggling back and forth between apps goes away. You can be much more productive with a RingCentral. So I think that's it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the Zoom integration that you have, so I have Zoom, I set up Zoom conferences daily. You know, I'm on there daily. So you're using their platform? So when I'm extending an invitation, is it coming off to the other person as a Zoom invitation?
No, it's coming off as RingCentral.
It's called
So
RingCentral Meeting.
Okay.
Right,
all right.
but so we OEM the technology. I don't know how would be the proper.
And so will they be able to just naturally sign in, or do they have to download Zoom or your
Not
no.
not to attend. Yeah,
Okay.
to host.
To host, yes, but not to attend.
Not to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah. One more. Okay, and so I'm going to transition this over to Jim, who'll talk specifically more about RingCentral and why, if you're going to make this move to the cloud, it should be with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. I was going to tell you to stop talking because you talked about half of my presentation.
I'm sorry.
So please let me talk about that. But hi, everyone. Jim Hartnett. I'm the Senior Account Executive with RingCentral. My core responsibilities are driving cloud adoption, specifically to RingCentral in the Chicagoland market. I'm in the majors business segment, up to Wisconsin and then west out to Iowa. Like Steve, I am new to the company, just about 4 months now. I just started the week of Thanksgiving. And I think that says a couple of things. One, it shows the growth of our company and how we're trying to gain market share in some of the biggest markets in the country. And two, and Steve and I just had on our backs, they're attracting the best talent. So
tell us different after the presentation.
And I always like to tell the story about why I made a move. I came over from an ISP, a well-known ISP, which will be nameless, but they filed for bankruptcy a little while ago. I had a lot of success there. I was there for about 4 years. I've had about 12 years total in the sales world, 4 years selling cloud. I had a lot of success there. I hit 2 consecutive Chairman's Club trips, so nice. Aruba and Grand Cayman, and had a lot of fun, and didn't need to make a move. But the company I was working for decided to make some layoffs, which in turn, we saw some things affecting on the back end, specifically in implementations. We were missing deadlines, we were missing install deadlines, and in the end, my customers come to me. And so when I feel like my customers buy from me, they're buying from me. They're buying RingCentral, but they're buying from me because they trust me. So if my word is not keeping up with what we promised, I feel it's directly on me. So it became the thing with ethics for me. I felt like the company was not keeping up with the promises we were delivering, so I didn't feel ethically that I was doing what I should responsibly as a professional. I had a friend that came over to RingCentral from the same company I was working, and he explained to me the exact opposite of what was happening at the company I was with RingCentral. And let me tell you, in my short experience here, in just about 4 months, I am beyond excited to work for RingCentral, where they're going in the marketplace. They're hitting all their deadlines. I mean, I just had a customer, my first customer install, all told from execution of signature to installation date was 45 days. So they're hitting their promises, and I couldn't have been happier, exceeding my expectations. So just a little bit sort of about me, my background, where I come from. I can grab it. So a little bit about RingCentral in total, 450,000 customers and growing. That was as of 2018. 3,600 employees. That's actually over 4,000 now. So that's a 30% employee growth year after year for the past 4 years. Over 15 years in innovation now. My favorite thing to talk about in this slide is the R&D spend. RingCentral is really not happy with status quo. We're throwing over $100 million into research and development to stay on top of to stay best in class in our industry. We're not happy with status quo. And that $100 million mark is a third higher than our nearest competitor. So it shows that we're trying to develop the newest technology out there possible. Our stock, RingCentral, RNG, just about 2.5 years ago, we were trading over the block at about $22 a share. Just last week, we hit our 52-week high at $115. So those investors that got in at that time are probably pretty happy, right? But it just says a lot about where we're going in the marketplace. And our market cap has grown from $5 billion to 8.7 billion in just over a year. One of our other key differentiators is our global delivery. We have 17 dedicated data centers right now over the world. And I believe they are Equinix data centers, if you're familiar with them. Gartner's, who we'll talk about in a second, Magic Quadrant leader for the four consecutive years. And over 4 billion minutes that we have on RingCentral's platform today. Something that's important to know, and I know Steve got into a little bit of what we offer. Unlimited local and long distance is included in our solution. So if you think about how you're getting billed today, and going back to that slide when we're talking about meetings, WebEx, and GoToMeetings, people don't realize that you're getting billed for minutes for those when you're having people on those meetings. So that's all included in our solution. Any questions here? So if you're familiar with Gartner's, I feel like, and we feel they are the gold standard for vetting and evaluating IT solutions. In the top right, you can see RingCentral. We have been a leader in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Unified Communications as a Service for now the 4th consecutive year. And we're going even further to the right and even further north than our nearest competitors. And you can see some well-known names out there. You know, the traditional guys that have been a huge player in this space for a long time, especially premise-wise. Another important thing to consider here is Gartner's has dropped the on-premise Gartner's Magic Quadrant. So your perennial, Cisco's, Avaya's, and ShoreTel, now Mitel's in the world, they're not even being recognized as Gartner's for having leading technology, because that's the way that our industry is going. It's all going cloud-based. People are putting their workloads into the clouds. They're putting their production environment into the clouds. Now it's the time to put your communications into the clouds and treat it just like an application you have running today. Some other great awards: Frost & Sullivan, IHS, and Aragon Research, Product of the Years. It's kind of our little brag page. So the foundation of our solution is starting off with a cloud-based PBX, giving you the fundamental capabilities of voice, conferencing, and fax. We then layer on modern collaboration tools, which is that SMS that Steve was talking about, the collaboration tools with desktop sharing and collaboration, the video meetings, and contact center. Steve had talked about how our RingCentral app, and we can text, fax, and receive voice. Those are all of our digital numbers. They come as smart numbers. So each of them has text capability, fax capability, and regular voice capability. And our solution is able to disseminate which type of communication is coming through every single time. Differentiators, and then how we differentiate at the top. We offer industry-leading analytics and reporting. We have that global solution that we talked about, over 17 data centers or across the world, and the open and integrated platform, what Steve had mentioned with Salesforce and a lot of other things that I'll talk about in a minute. So it truly is a unified experience, and what I like to talk about here is we give you and your end users the ability to access our solution anywhere, at any time, at any device. All you need is some internet service, 4G or whatever you have it. I have a personal story I like to share here. Last Sunday, I woke up, I had some abdominal pain, and I'm having an emergency appendectomy, which was my first surgery ever. So
Last week?
Just last Sunday, yeah. And I was out Sunday night. How crazy is that? I mean, 7 o'clock at night, I was home with my wife and kids. But if you look at my stomach now, it looks like Swiss cheese for how many holes I have in me. But That's something else. But what I like to talk about there is, while I was laid up either in my hospital bed or at home on my couch and my recliner, I had access to all of my communication through my RingCentral app. I had access to IM and chat, so that's how I was keeping in touch with all the members of my team and some of my prospects and my directors. My phone, so as Steve mentioned, my phone was ringing my smartphone, it was ringing my desktop, and it was also ringing my hard phone that I use as a paperweight as well. It has all of our embedded contacts list, so we do integrate with Active Directory as well, so you can have all your contacts right on your phone as well. And I was able to join my RingCentral meetings, which was a white label Zoom as well, right from my desk phone, or right from my cell phone. So truly we are built as a mobile first platform, because we understand the way that mobile workforce is going today. People aren't sitting in offices anymore. I haven't been in an office in 3 years. I've worked out of my home for 3 years. So that's just the way the workforce is going today. Mobility and be able to be agile in the workplace. So RingCentral has realized that, and that's the way that we're designed our solution. So some of the integrations that Steve did talk about, out of the box, we have 140 integrations. But we do have a gigantic development staff that'll help develop those, any type of those, homebrewed CRMs, homebrewed, ERP systems, whatever you're using, to have those screen pops that Steve talks about. I'm a sales guy, so I am out there making calls, I'm sending emails, I'm sending LinkedIn's. It's hard for me to toggle between, doing my prospecting and then logging my activity. So now what I do is I have my little RingCentral integrator up on my Salesforce client. I make calls directly out of Salesforce. Right when I'm done with the call, I can log the call and log my notes. I don't have to go in between 4 different systems. The customer that I just integrated, they have a 5-person customer service team. It's not exactly a contact center or a call center. So when they get calls in, they have their screen pops. The customer comes up, they're able to put in their orders and right into their CRM system. So it's saving their customer service reps a ton of time and allowing them to do what their core responsibilities are, and not toggling between applications. So yeah, Salesforce is my number one example here, but you can see the different types of capabilities we have at integrations at RingCentral. This is just a look at our global footprint. And what I like to say here is we can deploy solutions the same way we can here in the Chicagoland area, the same way we can in Australia, in the United Kingdom, in Spain, and South America. That's the way that we were designed. You can see our data centers here in the United States. Our main data centers are in San Jose and in Virginia. Last year during, I believe it was Hurricane Florence, the one that hit the East Coast, and I was out there a couple weeks after. We preemptively took all the customers that were on our Virginia data center and migrated them over to the Chicago data center. And throughout that time, we had 0 people down throughout that time. So none of our customers even felt it. Some of our major players, some of our major customers, you can see some great labels here: PGA Tour, Salvation Army, Remax. But we like to see that we're scalable. We're scalable to the size company that we work with. We have teams that work with customers that have 0 to 10 users, 10 to 50, 50 to 250, 250 to 1,000, and 1,000 and up. So we're scalable and agile to the size of company that you are. It doesn't matter, just because this is an enterprise grade solution, it doesn't matter if you're a small and medium-sized business. It'll work for any organization. So thank you guys for the time. I really appreciate it. And just one more note I'd like to say. I know when we're talking about migrating communication systems, it can be very challenging, but with FireLogic and RingCentral, there really is a winning combination going forward. So we look forward to having conversations whenever you guys are ready. Thank you. Jacob?
Thanks so much, Jim. So I hope everybody's having a good time. We've all enjoyed the food. I want to let you know there is still plenty back there, and there is dessert as well that I've bought. So, but we do have a couple more exciting things to go through, and right now I want to take a second to actually introduce one of our favorite clients. This is Dr. Aggie over here from Hart Dental. They have been a really amazing client of ours, and we brought them into RingCentral, and so she's just going to take a couple minutes and talk to you about that.
Yeah, so right, and dessert, dentist, perfectly good. I love it. So we were using a different voice over internet provider before we switched over to RingCentral, and they couldn't port our number over twice.
Who were you with, Dr. Aggie?
I was told not to say.
Oh, I thought you said the customer. I thought you said the company.
I was informed not to say. I told them I was.
Let's talk after this. Then.
Okay. So they wouldn't port our number over, and basically we were like a couple days before my business was opening, and I still had no number. And then we had a couple of network issues where no calls were coming in. So it was very frustrating. So we switched over to RingCentral. We've had no problems. I think we switched in less than a week. So I was able to not lose phone service that whole time. Another cool thing that I really love is that sometimes people who are younger confuse our office number as a text. So I've gotten a couple patients texting, and I am able to get that to my email. I'm able to listen to a voicemail from email if someone's not at the office. So that's really nice. I don't even have to log into the RingCentral app, and it's very easy to use. I'm not very tech savvy, even though I'm a millennial. I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm able to log in, be able to control my own call forwarding. I don't have to make FireLogic do it. So I think it's pretty easy to use, and I haven't had any issues. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'll talk, because I like RingCentral, so I came in to talk. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And after we dessert, we have to make an appointment with you.
Right. I was like, I was told not to say.
So I wanted to really quickly mention a couple of important components, making sure that we touch base on parking in the situation. If you have a parking ticket, you can get validated by the front desk. If you did and I believe it's $5 for that parking, or was it related to that?
It's $5.
It's $5 for the validated parking. If you did the valet service, there was no charge with that. Also, I wanted to go over the contents of your bags. If you could take those out for a second, I wanted to mention a little bit about what we put inside those. Excuse me. One of the things we have inside there is a folder. That folder has all about RingCentral, obviously, with it. It has on the adjoining page, and probably one of the most important components in the equation today. So we're very interested in trying to bring RingCentral into your business and trying to meet the needs behind your VoIP uses. So what we've got is a promotion there. If your organization signs up with RingCentral and it's got 5 or more users inside your organization, seats, by April 30th, we'll waive all of your onboarding labor. The onboarding labor is a large cost. Labor being the biggest component in the equation. This comprises minimum savings, as we put in there, about $500 coming from that fee. If you're interested, my contact information is on there, as it is on the screen. My business card is inside the folder also. It's important to us that you know that anything you need as far as IT needs to get in touch with us. So that folder, one of the key elements. Also inside, we put business cards from 2.0 heads, who are our social media and web design partners, David and David. The great work that they do whenever we need anything designed for our team. We've got contact information for Dr. Aggie, so if there's anything as far as being able to find a great new dentist, you've got an opportunity to be able to reach out to her through that. We did a FireLogic pen. We did a USB drive that's 32 gigabytes capacity, so something everybody can really legitimately use in everyday life, and a mouse pad. So that's the contents of our bags. We want to say, as we're winding down, we want to say thank you to everybody for coming. Okay, I want to say thank you to everybody for taking the time again out of your busy schedule today. Again, in the back, we do have desserts, and there is more food if anybody were interested. And I believe that's all we've got. Oh, raffle.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright, so yeah, just one more quick thing. I did mention there is dessert out there, so now would be a great time if you guys want to go ahead and do that, mingle for a little bit. We're going to tabulate some numbers because there is a raffle coming up, courtesy of RingCentral, that you'll want to stick around for. That should do it. Thanks, everybody.
So I noticed that there's a Jackie there.
I'm not familiar with that. It says on the